So we have breaking news as Celtics trade offers have been leaked, and following what has been a crazy last 24 hours, a shocking new report has not only revealed the Celtics trade plans, but has leaked their offers and other teams' offers for multiple players, including their stars Jaylen Brown and Derrick White. You're going to want to stay tuned for that in this episode, as well as a few other updates. And at the end of the video, a very interesting note that you're going to want to stay tuned till the end for surrounding their trade plans and draft plans ahead of tonight's draft. Before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Celtics content. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. You guys have been absolutely fantastic with the support. You guys have been beasts. Folks, ton to go over today. Now, obviously, I'm covering a lot. There's tons of videos going out. There was a report I covered an hour or two ago surrounding Jaylen Brown and the Utah Jazz. Since then, we not only have the offer leaked that the Jazz have offered the Celtics for Jaylen Brown, we have a Raptors offer that has come in and been leaked surrounding, of course, Derrick White, which is something that's crazier, but probably more likely in itself. And let's dive into it all. Let's start with this here. You can see it's here from Brett Siegel, and credit to Brett Siegel. He's been on the money. He's having a generational trade deadline run. He's shout out to Brett Siegel if you're watching this video. You probably aren't. Here we go here. New on Clutch Points. The latest on Toronto emerging as a real trade suitor for Celtics guard Derrick White and Boston's approach regarding White and Jaylen Brown before NBA's draft tonight. So this report initially dropped, and folks, we know Windhorst came out, Shams came out. The Lakers are, the Lakers are, of course, as well, but the Celtics are getting offered a ton of different offers for Jaylen Brown and Derrick White. Blockbuster deals, right? And it's basically on them to figure out if they're going to accept the deal by the draft. Of course, this is more of a scenario where Derrick White and Jaylen Brown, I think, if they're going to get traded, it's probably going to be in the next, few hours. At the same time, though, if not, then of course they can still shop them afterwards. But folks, the offer is the 9th overall pick. Amid ongoing trade talks between the Boston Celtics and the Toronto Raptors, the Raptors have emerged as a real suitor. Toronto has signaled to teams around the league they're looking to make a big splash. And of course, we could also circle the Raptors as suitors for Jaylen Brown, although that fit is a little bit janky. As a part of an unexpected decision that had been held with the Celtics this week, sources say the Raptors created an offer around the 9th pick in the 2025 draft. The expectation is that if Toronto was to swing a deal for White in the coming hours leading up to the draft tonight, they would do so with the involvement of other teams as a part of a larger multi-team trade. And of course, Masai Ujiri and his front office have continued searches for ways to improve the team. White, who's 30, has 4 more years left on his deal at $28 million. This past season in Boston, he averaged 16, 4, and 4. The Celtics are now in new territory. So, folks, it seems, according to Brett Siegel, that not only are they getting offers for Jaylen Brown, which we'll dive into in a minute for the package the Jazz offered, they have offered the Raptors, or the Celtics rather, have been offered by the Raptors the 9th overall pick and what you would assume is other assets as well. And I'm very curious to see what you think about this because, I don't think the Celtics are going to trade Derrick White to the Raptors. I think it would require multiple picks, but a framework surrounding what you would assume would be Derrick White for RJ Barrett, the 9th pick, and then like 2 future first round picks, like unprotected or something crazy like that. Like it would take at least 3 first round picks and then RJ Barrett. But if you are the Celtics, do you want to take on the salary of RJ Barrett? I believe he has 2 years left on his deal. You can maybe offload him to another team. Like in a multi-team trade here, there's a lot of ways this could happen, but an RJ for Derrick White plus a bunch of picks kind of trade framework is the easiest and seems to be the most likely if it goes down. And by making these 2 trades, the Celtics, we know by trading away Jrue Holiday and Kristaps, they have cleared $180 million in tax penalties. Now, the biggest kind of, restriction regarding this trade, again, would be figuring out if the Celtics would want to take on RJ Barrett or if in a multi-team deal, they'd be taking on some other maybe expirings that would help and not contribute, get them. They don't want to take on a ton more salary, right? I don't think they're going to trade Derrick White and then go ahead and shed or take on a bunch of salary that they just shed in the Kristaps Porziņģis and Jrue Holiday deals. But they could go on the other side of things and, make a move for Derrick White because teams are that desperate in the Eastern Conference, whether that be the Raptors, who are trying to pair another star alongside their core of Ingram and Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly and Jakob Poeltl in a wide open Eastern Conference that the Celtics are in. And I think that's why the only way to get a deal done here is if they do, something that a deal that they can't refuse, right? Someone proposes a deal to Brad Stevens that they can't refuse. And it seems now that, they kind of maintain their position as of right now. And in the second paragraph there, outside of a multitude of teams calling about White, there's also been interest in Brown, who is entering the second year of a $300 million extension. And this is where the new report has come. Covered it earlier a couple hours ago. The Utah Jazz have made an aggressive push to try and acquire Jaylen Brown from the Celtics, per Brett Siegel. And the Jazz trade proposal for Jaylen Brown includes the 5th overall pick and multiple contributing talents in the final years of their contract. So this one's interesting as well because this one would, you're not taking on long-term salary if you are the Celtics, but you're getting the 5th pick. Now, again, we know how this goes. the Celtics aren't going to trade Jaylen Brown unless it's for multiple first-round picks, including this year's 5, right? And same goes for Derrick White. You see what teams got for Desmond Bane. You can argue who's more valuable, Desmond Bane or Derrick White. Regardless of that, like if Desmond Bane is getting 4 unprotected, you should be able to get, even if it's a little bit less for Derrick White, obviously, 3 unprotected first, something like that would be, probably a decent starting point for Derrick White. Now for Jaylen Brown, it's different because Derrick White's contract's better, obviously, or better in the sense of it's smaller. For Jaylen Brown, he has $300 million owed left, so maybe that lowers his value a little bit, and he's more of like a superstar. You'd have to find a team who wants to take on a superstar. The 5th pick is intriguing, but again, in this draft, like you probably want the number 2 pick, which the Spurs have, and I don't think they're calling on Jaylen Brown, at least that's at this moment. We haven't heard anything. What seemingly is a not as deep of a draft as previous years. You have Cooper Flag, you have Dylan Harper. I mean, Ace Bailey's being thrown around there. There's some, other guys, some big man Mohawks. But at the same time, Jaylen Brown is a very interesting asset, and there are some, beasts in the draft that the Celtics could like. And it all comes down to both these deals. Do the Celtics like the players that are in the draft? And if they like a lottery pick, then maybe they'll make a deal and they really like someone in the draft. Maybe they'll make a deal for someone like, Derrick White, and then they get the 9th pick from the Raptors as well as some other firsts that they can maybe package in the following season and not only save themselves, get expirings rather, don't save themselves money, make a move then to flip for another superstar, maybe go after the 2026 free agency class like the Miami Heat are seemingly going to be doing by getting rid of and offloading Andrew Wiggins. Like there are a lot of moves here that could be happening, and things are going to get very interesting. And about an hour or so ago, Brian Windhorst came out and said the teams in the top 10 of the 2025 NBA draft are making aggressive trade offers to the Celtics for Jaylen Brown. Boston is listening as the draft closes in, which could start off with a jaw dropper if Boston doesn't deal in, if Brown is indeed dealt from Boston. So I don't know. It's a little bit crazy. Again, a lot of reports, a lot of aggregating of these. I think at the end of the day, the most likely outcome here is they probably hold on to both Jaylen Brown and Derrick White for the time being. Maybe if some Godfather offer comes and it's from, the Jazz and they add a ton of firsts, or it's from the Raptors, they add all their firsts, or maybe they throw Scotty Barnes in a deal for Derrick White, which I doubt would happen. Otherwise, I don't think a deal is going to get done. I think Jaylen Brown's probably more likely to get, dealt tonight just because of the fact that I said earlier that, I think Derrick White in general is easier to trade, but Jaylen Brown, like if a team really wants to go all in, it would make sense for it to be in the form of Jaylen Brown. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. Trade offers are getting leaked. Proposals are getting, made here, and things are really starting to pick up with these brand new reports. Brett Siegel, obviously, the 5th overall pick for Jaylen Brown's an interesting one. Obviously for, of course, Derrick White, the 9th overall pick, slightly less intriguing, but also interesting, especially with the, abundance of assets that the Raptors have. But you guys are an absolute beast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support here. Videos coming later tonight. While the Celtics, among all this, have a 28th overall pick and the 32nd pick. So we'll keep you up to date with that. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later.